Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, Dean Communications at Bayes University, joins us for a review of the incidents that took place in Anambra State with regards to the youth corps member that was assaulted by security operatives and the by-elections, with political analysts predicting that the outcome of the just concluded elections could have wider implications for the November 8 governorship election in Anambra State. Of course, he's going to respond to what the governor said a while ago. Glad to have you join us, Prof. Let's start with the issue I was discussing with you off camera. We're talking about what I call degrading, dehumanizing maltreatment of the core. What's your response to how he took on that incident in Anambra State?
Well, I think the governor spoke like a leader. Typically, he gave it a sense of perspective and actually told us, some of us for the first time, that the incident happened about a month ago. But it also tells us the power of social media, how it can be a good store of memory and how it can turn out to be evidentiary, something that people can use to record incidences and show it at some other times, to advocate for justice, So he spoke like a leader. It's fine, it looks assuaging somewhat, but it's probably not enough, And I also listened to the governor when he said, the family of the victim are not interested in prosecution. I don't think that should matter. The act itself is fiendish, it's villainous, it is primitive, and it's something that demands justice, not just towards restitution for the victim, but for the public memory, already assaulted on account of that image, so that there can be some remediation, and of course some mitigation, because it's actually painful. We know it's an outlier, like the governor said. I agree with him. Even in some other parts of the world, we remember the case of George Floyd, when the U.S. police stepped on his neck and killed him, how it caused outrage. Sometimes you can have these exceptions. An exception should not be the rule, as the case could be, but it's also a reminder of why we continue to work at improving the society, why incidences like this, should be punished, through the instrument of the law, why those who carried out that act, should feel the full wrath of the law, like the Commissioner of Anambra State also said. And I've also had NYSC, they've condemned it, police have also condemned it. Nice condemnation all around, but we need to see action. The reason why criminal acts are perpetrated in this country is because culprits are hardly apprehended. In cases where they are apprehended, it's only done for the optics, and after some time, they are let off, and we'll see it again, so the cycle continues. We need a conclusive prosecution so that justice will not only be seen, will not only be done, but to be seen to have been done, as the case could be. But overall, I appreciate the governor, for giving us this explanation, but we need to go a little further as well.
Okay, let me move on from there because of time. What's your sense of his response to his statement on the former governor of Anambra State, the Labour Party presidential candidate in 2023, Obi?
Well, I think it was something that he didn't want to talk about.
But he had no choice.
Yeah, I also saw it I saw the video, and it looks like a slight detraction from the Soludo that I know, because I know him as a scholar, a civilized person, polished, urbane, sophisticated in thoughts and in words, and of course in deed as well, So I was somewhat not expecting him to use those extreme words, but he used it and he defended it anyway, but a little more moderated than the sound of the first, the sound than the way it sounded the first time. But be that as it may, he is giving this explanation. What he's trying to say again is an echo of what Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, said while he was on this show with you the other day, that it's very, very difficult to believe anyone who says he's going to spend one time in office. Very difficult, but again, we shouldn't also rule out the fact that... Now, let me say this,
to what you're saying. Let me give you Obi's response, It says longevity in office is not a mark of success, rather it is purposeful, accountable service, however brief. They are judging me by their own standards, where political promises are made to be broken. This was Obi's response to that statement.
Indeed.
And he added for good measure.
Lateef Jakande spent 4 years as governor of Lagos State. And of course, he remains a legend, one of the most remarkable governors that Lagos State has ever produced, even this country. And he did better than many governors who spent 8 years. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi spent barely 2 years as Foreign Affairs Minister. And we remember him for so many innovations. Some people have spent 8 years and we hardly can remember their name. So sometimes it's not about how long you stay, but how well. You know, the good thing that you did, you know, while you held sway.
Not how far.
Not how far. But the circumstance we are in now is someone saying that he's going to spend 4 years. I'm not going to dismiss him completely, because the fact that there's a preponderance of belief in people wanting to elongate their stay in power, you know, the fact that people would naturally want to stay as long as possible in power, does not mean there may also be some people who might deviate from that norm, you know. I mean, we can't take absolutist position, especially in a social system like ours, you know, which can be very, very dynamic, and we can also breed different personalities, different characters, you know. But again, you may not want to blame those who are disbelieving the person who is promising to stay for only 4 years, because of the dominant practices, you know, our culture of love for power, and the fact that wielding power in this country is like is an ultimate thing. You know, it's like being next to God, where, you know, the powerful can easily ride roughshod over the rest of us. You know, inordinately as the case could be. Before they
drawn you and I out of the studio, let me just ask you this: opposition parties claim intimidation, manipulation, and harassment by the government of Anambra State and the party APGA. He says Anambra is APGA, he calls it APGA. That's how they call it in Anambra State. And APGA is Anambra State. Yeah. So what do you make of the claims by opposition?
Well, it's just very interesting, you know, because we are seeing claims and counter-claims, and this is something that will always continue to characterize our election, even by the by-election. In this case, even in the off-cycle election coming up in Anambra State, you still expect it. And unfortunately, it's also regrettable that we're able to predict that even the next general election is going to be riddled by this accusation and counter-accusation. But what more do we have to say? You know, perhaps we should just continue to reiterate the need for us to make our politics much more dignifying, you know, where we can accept that we are fairly defeated, and if we win, we can also be magnanimous in victory. You know, seamless politicking. That can also be difficult. Let's not pigeonhole ourselves. Let's not condemn ourselves, but it can happen. Yeah, if
and we should get towards it. All right, Dean of Communications, Bayes University, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
On Arise Prime Time. Well, that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.